Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope all of you are doing well, and I want to welcome you all to Halloween Horror Day 28. And for Day 28, I decided to watch Little Monsters. So, Little Monsters stars Daniel Stern from Home Alone fame, Fred Savage, Ben Savage, who are real life brothers, and you also have Howie Mandel. So the plot of this film is pretty simple. You have these pranks that are going on, and Fred Savage is pretty much being blamed for them. Also, Ben Savage's character is getting scared by these monster type creatures, and Daniel Stern, who plays their father, believes that it's Fred Savage who's pranking his little brother and causing all this trouble. Of course, Fred Savage is telling his dad it's not him. He wouldn't do anything like that. So one thing leads to another. This causes Fred Savage's character to basically uh, figure out what exactly is going on, and lo and behold, he meets Maurice, this monster type creature that lives in this world that is actually under people's bed. This whole world has all these different unique monsters, and they have these gateways to all these different beds in different cities and states and countries and things like that. But of course, Maurice lets Fred Savage's character know that the longer you're in the world, eventually you turn into a monster yourself, which is kind of dark if you really think about it. Of course, we have this villain called Boy, who I would say has his own dark history. He was a human who stayed way too long and became you know, a monster himself, and he's basically this. He's kind of like the one in charge of this underworld type dimension type of place. I guess is the best way to put it. And of course, he has like this bodyguard, sidekick, not sidekick, but like bodyguard type of character. So yeah, his brother's kid, Ben Savage's character is kidnapped. Fred Savage has to get help from the crush that he's into, and the school bully to, and not just school bully, but Ben Savage's character's friend. He basically has to get help from them, and of course Maurice to save his brother before Boy basically ends up turning his little brother into a monster. It's a fun movie. Came out in the 80s, I believe, like the late 80s. It's just a fun kids movie. It's one of those movies I remember being aired a lot on TV and just eventually stopped. It's cheesy in its own right, but it's fun. I can't mention that enough. Howie Mandel is great. He's had a really great career, not just the America Got Talent stuff, but with this, and of course he did Bobby's World, and he's done a few movies in his career. I would say he's been doing pretty well. Ben and Fred Savage, we all know. Fred Savage, you know, did the Wonder Years, which became a really great and popular series at its time, and Ben Savage being well known for Boy Meets World. And it's crazy to look back that both of these brothers have had successful TV careers, two great shows during different times, and to this day are still talked about and still are remembered and deal with issues that a lot of uh, shows used to deal with back in the day that unfortunately they don't anymore. But the effects are good, all the special effects. There's a really cool interview with Howie Mandel on this, and he talks about the film. He talks about the frustration with being put, in the makeup, because for those who may not know, Howie Mandel suffers from a high case of obsessive compulsive disorder, and he has mentioned why the situation that led him to having the OCD. So it was pretty interesting to hear his thoughts on the film and the struggle he had with getting the makeup on and everything like that. So yeah, it's a fun movie. Again, I probably said that like 4 or 5 times. Tons of features. You do get some commentaries and interviews behind the scene. There's vintage footage. um, yeah, Brian is the character that Fred Savage plays. And of course, I stayed in Maurice, is played by Howie Mandel. And they don't mention Fred Savage or Ben Savage on the back of this. At that time, Ben Savage really wasn't doing a whole lot, I believe. This came out in '89, so maybe a couple years later, Ben would be cast as Gordon Matthews in Boy Meets World. So, yeah, that's my day 28 of the Halloween Horror, Little Monsters. Such a great film, classic, iconic. It took a while for it to come out on Blu-ray, but we ended up getting one. I think it came out last year or 2020. No, I think it was last year because 2020 there wasn't any Western releases out at the time. But with that being said, thank you for tuning in to day 28. We are almost done, guys. I think we got 3 days. No, we actually have what? 2 days, 3 days left. Monday's Halloween. That's crazy to even think. But thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, I'll see you in a future video. Peace.